So I think we're all together now, and the topic is new technology and software that is changing branding, marketing, and lead generation. And before we get going, I want to clarify something because those of you who saw Michael Anschel's presentation earlier, there's a lot of implications, and I think it's sort of a giant 800-pound gorilla that's pervading the whole conference is generative AI, large language models, ChatGPT, and how it's changing jobs. And Michael, I just want to get a sense of, you said it's not about just language, it's about more than that. So maybe you could just kind of address that.
Sure. So for those who saw it, it was a very visual heavy, art heavy presentation. And every image you saw, including the whole backdrop, was an AI generated image. So every photograph, every work of art, the background was actually the whole presentation fed back into the AI, which created this network of pieces that connect. And I think we think about one language speaking to another language, which is what's really happening there. The beauty of that is we can create all of these textures, all of these environments that feel very normal and as beautiful as language can feel, but it can turn those things into visual images and photographs and video. And I mean, I think that if we think about it as a letter writing tool, we're really missing the mark.
And so, if you missed the presentation and all the others that we have had here at this event today, you'll be able to see them, and when you see those images, you realize that they were created in generative AI, and it's mind-blowing, frankly. So I try not to think about it. I try to get right back to like everyday stuff, like let's drive some leads for new business here. Leads are slightly harder to come by this year, and if you believe the economic forecasts, lead flows will slow, or maybe have already done so. So the question is, have the past few years been extraordinarily good and we're coming back to a more normal market, or are we looking at a genuine slowdown? So this is kind of aside from technology, because I know everybody's using technology here to drive leads, but I'm going to go to Bill Milholland first.
So what do I think about that? I think we're going back to 2018, 2019, you know, sort of before, like when COVID first started, the phone stopped ringing for us, but only for a couple of months. And then they gradually picked up and that didn't stop. And things have slowed, but they have not stopped. So, you know, we're kind of forecasting that things are going to be a little more like that. As a result, I don't know that we're employing a whole, you know, we're a little bit cautious about turning the business upside down for some gee whiz new gadget. But we are going to have to work a little harder. We're going to have to get people involved in scrounging for leads. We're going to have to carefully review messaging. You know, are we saying what we need to be saying in this current environment? We're just trying everything we can think of. You know, Shana does a lot with the Post and just analyzing those images and using user groups, right, to sort of help us discover but that's a lot of people stuff. But to Michael's point, people are buying from us. So we want to adjust what we're doing to better match what they're interested in 2003 and going forward.
Got it. Beth, what are your thoughts?
So I definitely think that we are returning to a normalized market, and we are looking at and taking clues from our 2018-2019 lead mix to better inform how we should be spending our lead generation dollars now in 2023. What I do think is different about this environment, though, is that I don't think that we can underestimate the impact of interest rates being extraordinarily different this year than they were in 2018, 2019. And there are definitely opportunities in different demographics than we had then as well, just based on how the dynamics of the housing market have changed. So I don't think we're entering slowdown territory. I think we're just entering into another phase of adapt territory.
And Michael, and then Anna and Shana.
I think that the cycle has normalized itself a little bit. Instead of just always on, we're into some of our seasonal cycles a little bit, so normalizing. I think I don't think we treated leads as well when they were coming in rapid fire, and we're treating them a little bit better now. I feel really good about it. How about that? I mean, I think that we're in a good, manageable territory that we know. It's more comfortable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to be the maybe Debbie Downer here, but in the models that I'm seeing when it comes to economic stability, both within the US, North America, and globally, the interest rates and just the economy as a whole, we are predicting, and many of the contractors and manufacturers that I work with, a possible 12 to 18 month dip. So what is the path to be successful? Different budgeting models. How are you going to downsize, scale up quickly, make sure that you keep your closest assets secure? And then when it comes to that lead gen model, how are you personalizing? How are you leaning into some of those specific personas and opportunities and creating those unique experiences to ensure those leads have something special about your company? So we've been seeing it, and I mean, I'm a geek. I watch the World Economic Forum and different things like that. This has been predicted for a period of time. So Europe, follow Europe, the energy crisis. We've got a lot of stuff going on. And yes, I would love to say that we're just going to have back to 2019, 2018. But I really think you better make sure you know where your seatbelt is.
We feel like home has a different meaning in 2023 than it did in 2019. And now it's a classroom, and it's an office, and it's a cafeteria, and it's all those different things. And I think as a result, people may be less likely to take the European vacation and focus on their house, maybe, if things tighten up, because it's a good investment.
Yep.
We're not building new homes, so existing homes keep going up in value. People aren't moving, so they're fixing because they don't want to give up their 3% rate. And that, you know, again, home has different meaning, I think, but true or not, I don't know, than it did a couple of years ago. And I think that helps us from the remodeling side of things. You know, people will spend money on kitchens and bathrooms and screen porches, experiences.
Yeah, and I think there's trends with all of that, right? There's places that people are willing to spend money. So manage that, understand where those trends are, and leverage your assets in order to make sure you're capitalizing on the opportunity that's on the table, because there's always opportunity.
Right.
But are you nimble enough? Do you have the processes in place to move and move quickly?
Good point.
Shana, from your viewpoint, are we back to a normal situation, or
Yeah, so
going down?
yeah, I agree with Bill. So we also have a home improvement division, Fred Home Improvement, and we have seen a little bit more slowdown versus projections for Fred. We've seen it more quickly with Case, but you know, we're also, like, you know, you were mentioning the region. So we're in the DC region. I feel like we're a little bit more protected being close to the government, you know, and home values are, you know, still strong. So I think that for us, you know, COVID years, was it extraordinarily, you know, strong? Yes, there was some divisions that were at 240% of projections, you know, so we're not seeing those numbers, and I think maybe we forget how it used to be, and so it might feel more of like a downturn, but I think it is more of like normalized. We just kind of forgot because the demand was so strong. So,
Got it.
and like Bill said, you know, we're still going to keep everything in place. We're just going to tighten up all of our systems, make sure that we've got the right messaging, making sure that our client service is, you know, customer satisfaction is high, and you know, so we're just looking at all of our processes. It's not just like the high demand where you're just going and trying to catch up. So you just want to make sure everything is, you know, in place and processes are tightened up.
So that, we were just talking straight remodeling and home improvement there. There was no tech involved at all, like not a single word about tech. So we got through that part, but given all of that, and I'd love an answer from each of you if possible, what is the single most exciting opportunity when it comes to branding, marketing, and lead generation as a single technology or software or tactic. And you don't have to go first, Shane. I'm going to start with Beth over here.
So I think it's what we are seeing on the AI front, right? I mean, I think there's an enormous opportunity for us to look at generative AI as an opportunity for streamlining and improving our communications. And some of the things that have been out of our reach for ages, just on the basis of even like, can I have a 20-person marketing department? No, I cannot. But can I have a robot who does the work of a 20-person marketing department? Now that's actually within reach. I mean, to me, that's the exciting part, particularly operating in the environment that we're headed into, because the opportunity to optimize across some of the touch points that we know we've not been able to, just based on even the limitations of human resources, I think is the single biggest opportunity in front of us. Now, sticking the landing on it, I think every single one of us has talked about today. How the heck do you stick the landing? And I don't know that we know the answer to that yet, but to me, that's our most interesting opportunity in this marketplace as well.
Michael.
I was hoping you'd pick me for last.
Yeah.
So I was thinking also, as in the last question you were talking about, you mentioned, there's always opportunity, and you mentioned process, as you did as well. And so much of what we saw during COVID was those that adapted to like that environment thrived really, really well. And the people who still wanted a handshake and 3 hours in your living room were like, I don't know how to sell anymore, right? And I think the same is true for marketing right now. Canva, I mean, I remember when Hootsuite came out, it was like, oh, I can schedule my social media posts. This is amazing, right? I can write them all in one afternoon and then they're out for the week. Well, now I've got templates. Canva will take my brand colors, and I'll create a promo for something, and it'll reformat and size it for 6 different platforms and schedule it. The video segment is really, really fun storytelling, and it gets people out there storytelling, and I think that people respond. Like our engagement in the social media platforms and work coming from social media, 7 or 8 years ago I would have said unlikely, and today, we get a couple leads every week, and they're really good, and they come to us as, hey, we've seen your videos, you guys are experts in this thing, we're really excited to have you, we're excited to meet you. And what a great lead. Wow, it's honored to meet you lead is a good lead. That's going to be a high percentage chance of closing on that one. And trust is way, way, way up here. You're no longer just somebody that they called or got a referral from. They've watched your assembly videos, or they've watched your transformational videos. So the use of the TikTok a lot, but also Instagram platforms to bring out new content, and for average people who are not marketers, with the assistance of the AI that's cooked into all of those things, the video editing tool in TikTok that makes your videos look good without having to know how to really edit videos, I think is a huge benefit. And sticking the landing, for sure, not everyone's going to do it, but man, it is sure a lot easier than it was.
So top tech, yeah. Anna, go ahead.
Top tech. Well, I think we talked about AI. We talked about the advancements of tech. I would say we have great opportunity with the personalization components through those 2 vehicles. And yet we see this transformation of technology, and if you like studying a decentralization, that's also a component you need to be aware of, and understand that we are going into a new era. And technology that we have through Canva and some of these other applications, we're also going to emerge with the power of influencers, and the technology that allows you to measure and be able to communicate with influencers and drive opportunities back to you. So the power we have right now through ad management platforms and AI tools is really important, but I would also throw into that mix, social is so powerful, but are we leveraging influencers in the midst of that? And there's some really amazing tech platforms there as well.
Bill.
I wish I had an answer for you, and I'm not sure that I do. I think what will be doing is doing what has worked for us before and that maybe we've put on the shelf. Like, I'm kind of excited to try direct mail, because it used to be I got 1,000 things in my mailbox and now I don't. And so is that an opportunity that connecting people through email newsletters where it's coming from an individual to everybody they've ever touched, but it's personalized in a way that a generic corporate email is not. Just trying some of those basic things that maybe we've gotten away from. Again, we're just not gonna be first adopters on some new technology. Are we gonna use chat and AI and all the rest? Yes, we were talking the other day about we've played around with it for writing blog posts, but I'm not sure we want that with our name on it. But could we say, we asked ChatGPT or Jasper, don't forget about Jasper, this question, and this is how it answers. How do you feel about that? And try and get in some engagement that way. So, just some fundamental back to basics, things that used to work, maybe they'll work again, and then just keep refining messaging and images and all the rest. And then the amount of data now that we have and can collect and see the impact of these changes, so that will help us course adjust. I think, we're just better at that now than we were in 2018, 2019.
I call that old school meets new school.
So you heard it first at our technology conference. Direct mail is back.
But if I can interject, how can you make direct mail be that supercharged vehicle? Understanding the digital data point, tying that to a physical address, personalizing that drop, and getting it to them with a customized offer, boom.
Yeah.
That's how you do it, my friends. That's how you take traditional digital data to deliver a unique experience.
Cool.
All right, Shana, you're in the details of this every day. What's your top performing marketing branding technology today?
So, like Bill said, we use what works for us. I'd love to say we're working with all different types of AI. I think that AI is still being tested right now. So, once it is fine-tuned, I think that we're definitely gonna try to incorporate as much as possible, as long as it can make our, processes better. But as at a base level, my favorite technology right now, you have to have a good CRM. We use Dynamics, Microsoft Dynamics. We get all of our client information that way. It's integrated with Click Dimensions. We can send emails. So I think that that's super powerful. We use Google Analytics, the GA4, to try to track all of our campaigns. We can see the web traffic coming through. I think that those are, traditional. We look at phone calls. I've got call log reports that are sent to me to figure out which, campaigns are working and which aren't. Those are kind of traditional. They're not as fancy as AI, but that's what's working for us.
Blocking and tackling.
I think the other thing you're doing is you do a lot of Washington Post advertising, print in the newspaper, which is hugely successful. But as the audience shifts to digital, you're working hard on how we adjust that.
Yeah, so we do it, the print and the digital. The print, we're using technology to analyze our print with the phone calls. We're using QR codes. We analyze which sections work better based on the phone calls and the QR codes, how the engagement is on the website. We're looking at that with Google Analytics. But yes, we're trying to shift more to the digital because, of course, the print, it's gonna shift. Print circulation is going down and the digital circulation is going up, but it's just still not producing the same results at the moment. We want more than just impressions. We want conversions, we want form fills, we want sales, it's still, of course, we're gonna be in that platform, we're gonna look at it, we're gonna analyze it, we're gonna try to, and that's changing constantly, but, it's still a big question mark and, something to explore.
I think at this time, it would be great to hear from the audience. And again, we have the 2 microphones here. Great marketers, all of them up here, folks that are in touch with technology. So if you have a question, whether it's about home improvement companies or design, build, remodel, come on up. And I don't know if anybody's like clamoring for the microphone right now.
Patrick, another thing I think that we've got to get better at is getting our team to participate in lead generation efforts, in that those muscles have atrophied over the last couple of years when it's just raining leads, and that, you know, we need them constantly rehashing old opportunities, staying in front of opportunities that are, you know, current, delivering great experiences, because if we do that, those clients will come back or tell other people. That we've really got to get, and it's not just salespeople, it's designers and project managers and craftsmen in the field, that, you know, if somebody stops by a job site, to have a quick little 1 minute or a piece of paper that they can hand to somebody to say, want to learn more, visit blah, 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 with some contact information on it. Because there's a buzz in a neighborhood when a job sign gets planted. And all the neighbors are, you know, sort of like, wonder what's going on over there. And so just trying to now take advantage of those things that we didn't have to think about that for the last couple of years, but now we have to start thinking about where those new opportunities might come from.
So technology could be a way to coordinate the team better and more efficiently, pull everyone together to do these tasks that have been proven to work in the past.
I was just thinking about some of the enhancements to all of these things, right? The process of getting the lead, or the process of bringing the lead in. I mean, there's process. It's a process. The things that we have that we get to use to shape that better or refine that, I think those are the tools. Like, so one of the things that we added, well, two things. One is old, Zoom, but Zoom's changed our close rate from low 30s to like 80s. That's a big deal for us, right? And drive time is almost nothing, and screen share and engagement with the client during design is really high satisfaction. It's not a new piece of tech, but we've gotten a lot better at using it. QR codes, I remember laughing at QR codes. Then I was in China just before COVID. I think I brought it back.
It was you.
It was me. Now,
Patient zero.
but they're cashless. It's a cashless economy, and I was like, "What cashless economy?" Well, guess what? Venmo, we're moving that direction. QR codes are being used, and now in a print ad, I can have a QR code to a Matterport model, and someone can walk through the before and after of a whole house that we remodeled and look at all the finishes, and I can have little tags that tell them about what it is. That's an enhanced experience of a print ad. It's still a print ad. We've just been able to layer things in, you know, and make it this deep.
And I think it's also about just making it easy. Sorry.
Go ahead, yeah.
I think it's all about just making the process to get to your company information as easy as possible. A QR code, you just scan your phone, you go straight to the website, you get all the information that you want right there. It's the ease of use, you know, versus typing in the whole URL. You know, I think that you just want to make it as easy as possible for the clients to get in touch with you. You know, one less step, you know, I think that that's also super powerful. And then of course on the analytics side, QR codes have been great, at least for us, you know. And we can actually track, we know that this conversion came from this ad, from this section, for this brand, because we follow them to the website through the QR code, and then they do the conversion on the website. So, you know, again, traditional print, but using these new technology forms, I mean, they're old, but using them better and more effective.
You have a question? If you could just state your name and company.
My name is Matt. My company is BC7. We're a design build firm out of Nashville. Something I'm a little surprised I haven't heard mentioned, I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts on it, is pay-per-click and organic SEO, or SEO period. I haven't heard that at all. And just curious as to anyone's thoughts on that as far as driving leads and using that for leads.
Who wants to go first?
I'm happy to jump into organic. I don't know if anyone's heard or seen some of the changes that Google's rolling out with search-generated experiences, and that's big. So that seatbelt, when we have the roller coaster of economy, you're going to see tech and advancements there big time. I don't know about team what your thoughts are, but in some of this deployment of Google's organic components, we have seen some challenges when it comes to localization and with featured snippets and some dynamic components. So I think that's going to take up a space that may not be as effective for the user. But from an organic perspective, we see our strongest close rate for clients through the map pack. And we found that when we are able to dominate the paid and the SERP, the traditional search results, and the map pack will have 60 to 70% of the conversions. So the other key that I would recommend when you look at that organic piece and leveraging your paid advertising is have you trademarked your brand, and are you closely monitoring people who are attacking your brand, or are they running ads against your brand or with any of your brand components, and that can help mitigate and manage your spend. So anyways, just some fairly low-hanging fruit opportunities.
Can I talk about
Yeah, go ahead, Shane.
we do Google Ads for both Case Architects and Fred Home Improvement. Fred relies more on the Google Ads. It doesn't have as much awareness, and in the DC area, it's a very transient community. So, people are going to Google and they're looking for the remodeler. So we actually rely a lot on Google Ads, Fred more than Case. And like Anna was saying, as at a minimum, I think that you have to bid at least on your branded keyword. So, because competitors will bid on your name, and you want to make sure if people are bidding on your company name that you are coming up. So we very much like Google Ads, we rely heavily on it. Obviously, you didn't go to my breakout session because I talk a lot about Google Ads. But,
Sorry, I
yeah,
missed
so
that.
But
we
you
love
can watch
Google
it
Ads.
later on.
Yeah. Maybe next year. No, just-
Anyone else want to talk about pay-per-click or Google?
I just assumed that everyone was doing it now.
Yeah.
Like, it's such a core function to be looking at your analytics constantly and to be,
Exactly. Yeah.
we actually started 6 months ago rebuilding our entire website so that we can take advantage of the changes that Google's rolling out. So,
Beth, your colleague at Renovo, Don Dewey, talks about, was it like testing, investing, resting,
Yes.
as like the archetype of how you use lead sources. And so are you testing or investing with pay-per-click or resting?
Ooh, I'll say none of the above. We've seen a substantial erosion in the cost efficiency of search engine marketing, and because of that, when a lead source doesn't pencil, we will tend to shift dollars. That said, there are some intangible benefits to investment in an owned lead, so not purchased from an aggregator, a branded lead. So I'll say we are resting with minimal investing. It doesn't quite fit the mark. I think we've seen some erosion in performance as attention has shifted. I think we've seen some increases in competition, which have led the cost efficiency to move. And we also contend with some hefty privacy stuff going on in the great state of California where I operate. So there's also just this cookieless world that we now need to contemplate as well when it comes to the performance of both our organic and our SEM campaigns. So because of that, we're a little less bullish, I'll say, on search engine marketing.
With all these, this is the last question, and then we're going to wrap it up with this great panel today. With all these advancements in technology and with the proliferation of lead sources, one would imagine that the cost per lead, a qualified lead, has gone down. But in fact, it continues to rise. And perhaps that's a function of the environment that we're living in economically. But that was happening prior to the pandemic and prior to any. So we're spending more and more to get leads, and we're using more technology. And I wonder if any of you can make sense of that, why that's happening, what that phenomenon looks like, and do we have to continue to expect to pay more for qualified leads going forward, which is kind of counterintuitive with technology. Long question, sorry. Go ahead, somebody.
So clearly, we've all benefited from some strong tailwinds during the pandemic that I think probably artificially set our expectations with regards to lead generation expense. And I think, we've also chatted up here about looking back, right? And looking at some of the lead generation tactics that are, and I know we're at a tech conference, but primarily offline tactics, right? In order to offset some of the competitive pressure in the digital space and to think about a reduction or at least a similar lead generation budget, even though we would see those digital leads tend to increase, particularly in our post-COVID environment. So, I think where we're looking at, to bring it back to tech, where we're looking at trying to optimize those offline experiences or even focus in on how we can better attribute some of our offline touch points using technology, we are looking at it as a yes, we are going to see continuing pressure on pricing in the digital landscape, but how do we offset that with other opportunities in the offline landscape in order to balance them out?
Where are we headed with all this, Bill? Are costs going up? Shana, anybody?
Yeah, I think so, but I think that was very well said, that we're going to continue to see pressure on that side. But I'll use seminars as an example. We used to do a lot of kitchen and bath seminars, and we could put 60 people in a room, and we'd walk out of that with 20 leads, and we don't do those anymore. So it's not a high cost thing to do. We do market it, but chances are we're already paying for that ad. So we've got now content that we can use that's going to draw people into a seminar. We can use social to also help with all of that, but it's going to create leads. So I think back to that point, you can balance that activity. You can rehash leads you've already had in a way that you didn't for the last 3 years. You can pick up the phone and call past clients and visit with them occasionally. That doesn't cost a lot of money. So I think that was well said, that I think there's a balance between, we're going to continue to see pressure on that side, but there are things we can do to mitigate those costs.
I would say, yes, it's rising. We have hundreds of leads being reported and cost per lead coming in, hundreds of thousands. And we're seeing that continue to escalate across many channels. And I think you said it well, old school meets new school. How can you infuse both of those environments into one? And we're doing modeling for our contractors where we're analyzing their close rates, their top performing customers, personifying those, where they live, work, and play. What's the aptitude of their buying cycle? Where do they, what do they consume? And then we're going to market in very select regions with those personalized messages. That seems to be fairly effective right now. And in the past, we would have like one campaign, right? This is our campaign of the season. And now it's a lot of diversification, dynamic inputs where those individuals say, wow, it's like they know me. Yes, we know you. We know you. And it's because of the power of tech really coming to the forefront and creating those experiences.
One of the things that gets lost in this equation is we can do all of this gee whiz amazing stuff up front, and if we fall apart in the field, all of that goes away. And so those poor people who are actually building the projects, and for us, those projects can be months long, that if that client has a great experience, if we're respectful of the neighbors and the neighborhood, if we clean up and tidy up every day, that can impact things too. And again, it doesn't cost anything, but a great experience can translate to additional opportunities downstream. And I think in all of the discussions we've had today, the poor people doing the work are the ones that this technology is not coming to in a way, and it's just good old-fashioned, being polite, taking care of a client's home like you would, doing a great job, being respectful. That's going to pay dividends as well, and it doesn't cost money.
So I was thinking a couple things. The lead might be getting more expensive, but we're much more selective in the lead that we get. And so the quantity is also, right? Like I don't want 100 leads a week. I just don't want that, right? I want 4.
Quality.
4 leads a week, 2 leads a week is for us is plenty. If I can close one of those 2 every week, we're great. So I think paying more for leads that are more tuned to the client that you want to get, the project you want to get in the region you want to get, is absolutely worth it. I think at the same time, I'm thinking about that user experience, and it's kind of lead generation, but it's also not. Like when you create, you were saying the folks in the field who are doing the work, the tools that what tech is allowing us to do in some ways that works like lead gen is because the folks in the field have to post photos to Buildertrend and update the daily log, that the project managers have a better understanding of exactly what happened, but so does the client. And so that overall experience of feeling like this company brings me into an ecosystem, everything's so well managed, that becomes part of their conversation. They're at an event, they open up the app and they can show their friends photos of the work in progress, not by going through their photos, but by going to the ecosystem and pulling them up, or showing them the drawings, or opening up the model because you can do a chief viewer on your phone and cruise through it. All of those things are part of that lead generation that is tech, but it's also, I think it's very much a group effort. But the results, what you're getting out of those things, are so much better than what they were a decade ago.
I think that's a good place to leave it. Let's hear it for our panel. Thank you, guys.